Does society have a consciousness? Consciousness. A sense of one's personal or collective identity, including the attitudes, beliefs, and sensitivities held by or considered characteristic of an individual or group. A small faction of men and women, also known as the Pythagoreans, set out on a quest for new land after having escaped their homes, which had been seized by a rebel army, also known as ISIL, Islamic State in Iraq and Pythagorea. After traveling for many days, the Pythagoreans come across a new stretch of occupied land and are confronted by its natives.
The scenes coming out of Europe are staggering. Children crawling under razor wire. People walking mile after mile under the blazing summer sun. Whole families who have nothing but what they can carry on the move. An exodus, the greatest mass migration here since the Second World War.
No, I don't know. No problem.
Thousands of refugees have made perilous journeys to Europe this summer have been sleeping in a Budapest Keleti station, waiting for trains to take them to Western Europe. Eventually, they stopped waiting and set out on foot. This is their story.
We can see from your clothing and dark features that you come from somewhere in the Middle East. Are you visiting, vacationing, just passing through? What is your purpose in coming here?
We are no longer safe in our own home and are now forced to seek refuge elsewhere.
In order for us to judge whether or not your presence is welcome, you must first be formally interviewed by our city officials. We will take you downtown to be evaluated. First, inform us of how your city is run. Tell us of your customs and culture so we can determine whether or not they are compatible with our own.
We live by our own philosophy, which is based upon an analogy we have portrayed through three classes of strangers at the Olympic Games. At the Olympic Games, the men who buy and sell are aimed toward gain, the men who compete are aimed toward honor, and the men who watch, also known as the onlookers, are aimed toward wisdom. While these classes are not equal, they are all necessary to a society whose aim is divine harmony or harmonia, and this is our aim. Similarly, in his Poetics and Rhetoric, Aristotle believed that society could be divided into three classes of men. These men were divided by their age, which would determine their virtue. Though these classes of men were not equal, each class was necessary in order to accomplish harmonia. We strive for social equality, live on a vegetarian diet, and spend our free time exploring subjects such as mathematics and music theory, which we believe play an essential role in the progression of society.
The Pythagoreans are then escorted out of the room so that the natives can discuss their decisions privately.
While divine harmony may be something to strive for, it would be nearly impossible to achieve while living among Pythagoreans, because we do not know if we can trust them.
Exactly. They have abandoned their fellow citizens through fleeing their homeland, which does not advocate harmonia at all. We also have our own specific set of codes, laws, and standards, which will most likely be incompatible with their way of life.
But on the other hand, our country encourages diversity and seeks to provide people with opportunity. Give me your tired, your poor, your huddled masses yearning to breathe free.
While you make a valid point, you have to consider the downside to allowing these foreigners to live among us. They are not a part of our society, and therefore, contrary to Singer's beliefs, we have no moral obligation to help them, not to mention the fact that they may be carrying disease, which could affect the health of our own people. And what about job security? Do we really want to have to compete with them in the workplace? If our employers find out that they are willing to work for lower wages than we are, we could lose employment. Furthermore, how do we know that they are not a part of ISIS themselves? After discussing their options, the natives bring the Pythagoreans before the panel.
After discussing the matter in great depth, we've concluded that the Pythagoreans will not be authorized to take up residency within our realm due to cultural difference and the preservation of safety among our citizens. Their presence may pose a threat to our way of life, which is a risk we are not willing to take.
After being voted out, the Pythagoreans respond to the natives.
Being a society driven by equality and harmonia, it is difficult for us to grasp the concept of rejection driven by ignorance. You are not knowledgeable enough concerning our culture to deem us unworthy of safety and refuge. As the philosopher Plato stated in his Apology, I thought to myself, I am wiser than this man. Neither of us probably know anything that is good, but he thinks he has knowledge when he has not, while I, having no knowledge, do not think I have. We do not believe ourselves superior to you, but we will not be deemed inferior by an unconscious society.
We conclude from this story and stories like it that while some members of society may have a consciousness, society as a whole most often does not. The state of awareness in each nation varies, and this is due to poor education, lack of empathy, and faulty propaganda. If we ever hope to regain full consciousness, we must seek the truth and strive for true harmonia through helping the huddled masses to breathe free.